Hey everybody, how y'all doing? Happy Friday. Welcome to the Friday Night Prepper pre-party show. Sorry, I think I was about a minute late there. Let me know in chat when this comes on for you. Let me know if we're 5x5, if we're good on the audio. I had to switch up my rig just a little bit here. But I see a few people in chat already. We're gonna get to all that, saying hi to everybody. As you guys know, just a couple rules here. Awesome. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Sassy. Appreciate you both. No racism, no sexism. Be kind to the moderators. If you have something to argue about, just articulate yourself. You know, if you have to resort to name calling, then you really don't know how to argue. So that's all we ask. It's okay to disagree. It's okay to disagree with me. In fact, I like a little bit of disagreement and pushback. It helps me think, challenges me a little bit to think about some of the things. I don't always have everything right, and people in the community have told me about things that I wasn't aware of, and sometimes changed my minds on things. So a little bit of debate is good. We've seemed to have lost that as a nation, and that's a problem, right? Like all we do is just like sling hate at each other now online, and we gotta do better than that. So speaking of State of the Union, that is the topic for tonight, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about. Before I get into everything, got a couple more quick announcements. Vote in the poll at the top. I want to know, do you feel that the economy is in good shape? I will get to that again at the end, but please, when you're tuning in, go ahead and vote in the poll. Number two, if you didn't see my short video already, I have an article in the latest issue of Off Grid Magazine. I'm on page 58. My article is Stress Under Fire, and it is about managing your mental health in emergencies. I hope you all enjoy it. You can find this, of course, usually at the grocery store. If you've got a bookstore near you, they definitely will carry it. Or worst case scenario, if you really want to get it and you can't find it locally, you can also go on the Off Grid website and order this issue off there. This is, I think, the third or fourth time I've been published in Off Grid, and I've been published also a couple times in Backwoods Survival Guide. So kind of getting back into writing. I did some writing earlier in my career, and I'm trying to, mostly gear it towards preppers, what I'm doing, but also tie in my mental health experience. I think everybody in the chat knows, I'm a licensed trauma therapist by trade. So definitely pulled some of that into this. I've got an upcoming giveaway. Let's talk about that briefly. We'll get to the rules on that a little bit later on, but let me show you what we're going to be giving away here, because I think you guys are going to like this one. Now, here's the bad news: is because of logistics and costs and legalities for other countries, I'm not going to be able to make this eligible for people who are watching my channel outside the United States. Before you get mad at me and flood me with angry comments about how this isn't fair, good old Sarge likes to do a lot of giveaways, and I've done giveaways for people all over the world with Amazon codes and things like that. So I do like to do that for you all. This one, unfortunately, is going to be for people in the United States, only 18 plus. And let's go ahead and show you. So bear with me a second here. All right, so Prepper Co. is a new company that I'm working with, and they have all kinds of cool gear on here. Night vision, long-term food storage. They've got tactical bacon in here. Let's see if I can find that for you. That's not the giveaway, sorry. Where is that? There it is right there. Go on there right now and get yourself some tactical bacon. You will not regret it. Everybody should have bacon in your it's expensive. Everybody should have, but you know what? If you have the last bacon in the world, it's going to be worth it. But what I am giving away here is the Faraday bags here. So let me show you this. So I've got one of these 3-piece bundles. Okay. Is it this one? I think it's the large. I'll have to check the sizes on it, but they look pretty big to me. But anyways, if you've been wanting to get some Faraday stuff to put your electronics in for privacy, or if you're worried about EMP or coronal mass ejection and whatnot, this is a good chance to get some of these. These are, this kind of stuff can tend to be a little bit pricey. So it's one of those things. It's like, yeah, I'd like to have it. I don't know when I'm going to be able to afford it. So then now's your chance to win this. How are you going to win it? As usual, I will do this. I will give this away at a future live stream. And you're going to need to be present in the live stream to be eligible. Okay, so that's how I've done my giveaways. I don't know when that is. Stay tuned. There will be at least one more announcement with some rules and things like that, where I give you a heads up, like, hey, it's coming, and then it's usually soon after that. So pay attention. You want to come to the live streams. That's how you will be eligible for this. And you're going to need to be 18 plus and a resident of the United States, so I can actually legally ship this to you and not cost me a fortune to do so. All right. So that's that. Check out their website, night vision gear, long-term food storage. You got water filters on here. Let's see. Let's take a look. So you got some different water filters on here. You've got some gas masks from Mirror Safety. You've got some first aid kits here from My Medic. All right. Check these guys out. Let's take a look at the night vision real quick. Whoops, those are the mounts. Hang on. All right, so if you've been wanting to get yourself some night vision, there's where you go. Prepper-co.com, and I've got it scrolling on the bottom, and I think there's a link in the description for this video as well. So stay tuned for that. That is coming. All right, and we talked about the poll. All right, let's say hi to chat, and then we're going to get into the State of the Union. Scrolling back up here real quick, I want to say hi to everybody who popped in. Thank you so much for sharing a little bit of your Friday night with me. You could be doing anything, but I appreciate that you're here, enjoying a little bit of community chat and hanging out with me. I've got Virginia Bushcrafter, Scott Hummer. We've got Sassy Gal Prepping. I see Frank Short. Thanks for joining. Appreciate you. Lazarus Long, how are you doing tonight? Yeah, electric bills are way up, man. I hear you. Burpee Yoga Uncle, hope you're doing well. Orlando Prepper, it's good to see you. Demo Man Don, how are you doing tonight? Wayne, it's good to see you, my friend. Don TV, how are you? Successful Slave, how are you doing tonight? It's good to see you, my friend. Grit and Grace, the Farming Florist, how are you? Happy Friday. Kathy Williams, good to see you again. Tactical Bacon, exactly. Prepper for the Ages, how are you doing tonight, my friend? It's good to see you. All right. Cuke V Farmer, how are you doing? Checking in from the People's Republic of Michigan, eating supper. I appreciate you. Thank you. Okay, if you're lurking, that's okay too, but don't be shy. Feel free to jump in, say hi to the chat. We got a good group here. Greenleaf, how are you doing tonight? Kay, thanks for joining us. Hope you're having a good Friday. Cool. I think I'm pretty much caught up. All right, let's get into this. So, first thing, Sarah Adams. You guys know we've talked about Sarah Adams most of last year. This was like my hyper focus for the channel for 2025 was the sleeper cell thread. Sarah Adams was on Sean Ryan again very recently. If you go to the Sean Ryan show here on YouTube, you can see that interview with her. Great source of information. She is a former CIA targeter. She seems to have legitimate information. Her credentials certainly seem to check out. The sleeper cells are still out there. It's my understanding that some of them have been nabbed by ICE. The likelihood that they got all of them is highly unlikely. Still need to stay aware, pay attention to your news, download your emergency news apps and set your notifications on for your local area. Download like Waze is a good app to have on your phone, because if there's detours in your area because an incident's going on, it'll give you some detours and ways to get around it. But like your local news, download one of those, the one that you pick, whatever one you like, and then turn the notifications on for emergencies. It will tell you if the SHTF is going down in your area. Learn your first aid. If you're somebody who does concealed carry, practice. And also take some training with some dynamic training with a good trainer, so you can learn how to move and shoot and move on the run, how to use cover and concealment correctly. right? Like if you're going to be that kind of person that you're going to jump in and try to neutralize the threat, then stay on top of your training. If you're not going to do that, at least be training in first aid and CPR. Okay. And above all else, know some different ways to get around your community. So if something's going on, you can still hopefully get home, even if you have to reroute. So go check out that podcast with Sean Ryan. It was not too long ago, maybe last week or two, where he had Sarah Adams on again. Whenever he's got her on, I definitely pay attention. All right. What else? Next thing is aliens. Wow. So I had on our 2026 Doomsday Bingo card, which we just did not too long ago, one of the things that old Sarge predicted was that at some point in 2026, the US government would acknowledge that they have crashed UFOs. And I kind of was doing it tongue in cheek because I don't know if I really believe this. Like I hear these things, I want to believe. Certainly can't say that it's definitely not true because I don't know. But you know, I was that when I posted that, I was kind of tongue in cheek, and yet here we are. Barack Obama said that aliens are real, and then he kind of walked it back. You can go look that up. Just search if you're somehow in the dark about this, which I don't know how people could be now. Look up Barack Obama aliens. He said in an interview, yes, aliens are real, and then later on kind of said, well, that was my personal opinion or something to that extent. Then President Trump said he was releasing classified information, and he shouldn't have done that. And then President Trump ordered the release of UFO files, UAP files, and anything we have on aliens. Now, none of this would I consider official confirmation. I want better proof than just like Barack Obama saying this and then walking it back. I want something. I would honestly, confirmation for me would be if President Trump did a press conference on the White House lawn and said, "Yes, I'm here to tell you we are acknowledging that we are not the only intelligent life in the universe." And then whatever he can share. Maybe they can't share a lot because it's a national security risk, but just that alone for me would be confirmation. We haven't exactly gotten that. I think we've gotten like walking up to that line, but we haven't gotten it. Now, here's what I think is going to happen. And then I'll stop and check your chat here in just a second. Here's what I think is going to happen. I think they're going to release some UFO files and some UAP files, but all of it is going to be just like walking up to the line without actually telling us anything, right? So that still to me is not confirmation. Other people might say, no, they said aliens are real. Barack Obama said aliens are real. That's as much confirmation as you're going to get. You guys can let me know in the chat what you think. But I want more proof. I want them to drag ET's butt onto the White House lawn and say, this is what they look like. I'm not going to get that. I know. I would accept if whoever the current president is, whether it be Trump or the person who comes after Trump, says, yes, we're here to officially say we know that we're not the only intelligent life on in the universe. And if that's all they can tell us right now, I would be excited for that. Of course, I would want as much information as they could give us, but I also can understand like why maybe they don't know that much. Maybe they just know that, yeah, there's something else out there and we've had glimpses of it. Maybe we've even had some encounters with it, but we don't know where they're coming from. Or we don't know why they're here, or, you know, maybe they just don't have that information. So that's a possibility too. For now, and you can disagree with me, I'm not judging anyone's belief on this. For now, my personal belief is I'm skeptical, very, very skeptical, but I would like to believe. I think it would be really cool if we found out that there really is like some intelligent species out there, either like interdimensional or from another planet or from the future or whatever, or that was always here living underground or in the oceans or something like that. These are some of the other theories. Any of that stuff would be really, really cool. But for now, I'm still skeptical. All right, let's see what you all are saying about this, and then we'll go on to the next part of this. Let's see. Good to see everybody. It looks like we got about 29 people active right now in chat. I lost my marker, and I know I marked it. Why did I do that? Why, Sarge? There we go. Okay. Print maps, keep them in plastic sheet protectors, no alternative routes. Absolutely. Especially for your local area and your state. Great suggestion, Sassigal. Kathy Williams already watched the interview. Good stuff. Missouri Gulf Coast Cajun Preppers, good to see you. How are you doing tonight? Well, and that's what people are saying, right? Like that, oh, sure, it sure is convenient to talk about aliens and UFOs now when everybody's like, what's all this like millions of pages of stuff in the Epstein files, right? I think it's a good point. It is a good point. All right, cool. Let me mark where I left off. Y'all can let me know in chat if you think aliens, not just our aliens are real, but they've visited us. They've visited Earth. Okay, that's what I want to know. Do I think that life exists somewhere out in the universe besides Earth? Yeah, that's definitely believable for me. But what that could look like, it could be aquatic, it could be microscopic, it could be fish. All of that is technically alien life forms. When we're talking about here, we're talking about specifically have they visited Earth and are they like at least as intelligent as us, if not much more so. All right. Or more advanced than us. Maybe they're same intelligence, but they've had hundreds of years more of evolution than us, right? Think about if humans lived that long, questionable, but if we lived another 100,000 years, what would we be able to achieve with physics, propulsion? Like it's conceivable that we would at least colonize the solar system. If not, figure out a technology like wormhole technology or bending the laws of physics that would even allow us to reach other stars, right? That we're just talking. Honestly, some people say just 10,000 years. If humans lived another 10,000 years, that would be possible, right? So imagine that there's a species out there, and it would have to be. Here's the thing: it would have to have some things in common with us. It would have to have the ability to build, right? So for humans, that was our opposable thumbs that allowed us to do that. It would have to have some kind of evolutionary development where humans evolved to be curious, and that was part of how we survived. We were curious. We wanted to see what was over that next hill, what was over the next horizon, what was over the ocean, what's in the sky. Humans evolved with that as part of us, whereas other creatures on the planet don't have that same trait. That was part of our evolution, and if we had somebody that came here, they would have to have that as well. So they would have to have the ability to build, curiosity, and the last thing that they would have to have, evolutionary wise, to be similar enough to us to do this, would be the ability to pass on knowledge to succeeding generations. So on Earth, for example, we have there's species that are very, very intelligent. Crows are very, very intelligent. Cephalopods are very, very intelligent. Whales are very, very intelligent. Dolphins are very, very intelligent. But none of those have the ability to build, the evolutionary trait of curiosity, or pass on their knowledge to the next generation. Those three things are uniquely human. Okay. Primates have some of that. Other primates like chimpanzees and apes and things like that. They have some of that, but they don't have it to the extent that humans do. So those are kind of key components, right? All right. I could go all night on the aliens. Let's keep it moving. Let's go to AI next. Wow. Big news in the world of AI this week. They ran, I think, 21 tests of simulated war games, putting AI in charge of the war games. And in 95% of those tests, the end result was the AI chose to launch nukes. Now, you combine that with the newer news that Pete Hegseth apparently wants to give autonomous control of weapons to AI. I've talked about AI a lot on this channel, and I'm going to. It's a hyper focus for me for 2026. We're going to continue to be talking about this. I've watched interviews with people who are like leaders in this industry and people who've been whistleblowers in this industry. First of all, it's not ready for this. Second of all, it doesn't have the ethical and moral development to be able to manage those kind of decisions, right? And every kind of simulated test that we've done, it fails by comparison to human morals and ethics. So, in case Pete Hegseth hasn't watched War Games with Matthew Broderick, which is a great movie from the 1980s, and you really should watch that, or the Terminator movies. I don't. There's no way that this is a good idea, at least at this time. Could it potentially be a good idea down the road? I don't know. It depends on how AI evolves. But there's nobody in the industry who would say this is a good idea. Anthropic chose to stand up to Pete and say, no, we're just not going to do that. And now, as of the end of business today, the US government has told all of their departments to not do business with Anthropic. So they're going to punish them for making an ethical decision. Now I want you to let me know in chat what you guys think about this. And while you're doing that, I want to load up something else here that's related to this topic. So I think it was last week when I had Jess on here that I was talking about that China is where I believe, from everything I can tell, all the reading that I do on this, I believe we're ahead of China when it comes to AI. But China is ahead of us when it comes to robotics. So let's just watch a couple minutes of this. This is what China's been doing while we're playing our little reindeer games. And I got the sound intentionally off on this. I want you to just watch this. So China has been busy developing robotic infantry. Okay, and these will be AI powered, by the way. Now, some people are saying they're overinflating what these things are, that like this might be some AI is put into this video, and they might be exaggerating, which that's some of this does look like it's AI generated to me, so that's probably true, but this is definitely possible, and we know that China's working on this. As far as I know, now you guys let me know in chat if you know different. As far as I know, as much as we're doing in the United States with AI development and aerial and sea drone development, we are not developing a robotic army like this. So this is a huge advantage and they would not have the reservations that humans would have about killing. This is a huge advantage over our current our military projects, at least for this. Now you probably have also seen, let me switch to a different video here. You probably have also seen that China is teaching martial arts to their army of robots as well. So let's just kind of show a couple minutes of this, of what their movements are pretty good. I mean, I'm a black belt in Tracy Kempo, and I have a blue belt in Shaolin Kempo, and I can tell you their form looks pretty darn good. Why are we teaching robots martial arts, guys? Why are we doing this? This seems like a really bad idea. Really bad. Really bad. All right, let's go ahead and kill this. Okay. Let me come back. Yeah, so before I go on to the next thing in the State of the Union here, let me go see what you all are saying about this. Somebody once said the space is too damn big to be just us out there. Yeah, the math is in favor of, so I've actually dug into this pretty deeply. The math is definitely in favor of that life probably exists outside of Earth. The math is in favor of that. But when you start chiseling it down to like intelligent, multi-cell, complex life, the numbers drop way down. Like probably out of all the solar systems in the galaxy, it's less than the number. They think the number for the chances of that, just the chances of that, are less than 5,000. So it goes from billions down to like 5,000. So it's a small chance. 5,000 is not a small number, but like, again, if we're talking about complex life similar to us, that might be really uncommon. We might be unique, right? But as far as like life out there, that like microscopic or plankton or oceanic or fish, or maybe even something similar, plant life, things like that, it's a pretty good chance that there's something else out there. Yeah. And that in itself is actually really cool, you know. Not as cool as having little gray aliens landing and teaching us how to cure cancer, but still pretty cool. Okay, let's see. Since forever looks to me, octopuses are alien. So there's some theories about that cephalopods, because their DNA is so different, that um, maybe they are alien life forms. You can look up panspermia. The idea of panspermia is that organic material could travel on a meteor or comet between planets. So maybe they came from somewhere really far off. It's definitely interesting. Cephalopods are really cool. Octopuses and squids, and they are like really, really intelligent. Area 51. Yep. I know somebody who claims to, I want to be careful about this because I don't want to get anybody in trouble. I know somebody who claims to have seen crashed UFO and dead alien bodies in possession of the United States. But here's the problem, folks. I also know that some of the top secret organizations use that as a test. They'll like kind of screw with candidates to like see how they react. So they'll bring them through this room and they'll be like, and there's the crashed UFO from Roswell or whatever, and these are some of the alien bodies, but it's none of it's real. It's like we made them, and then they're doing it to kind of test their reaction to see like what are they going to do if we show them top secret information. So how do you trust it, right? Like how do you know if it really is or not? That's a good point. There's definitely there's stuff on the Earth that is really old and predates structures. Let me say, I want to be careful how I say this. There are structures on the Earth that were built by intelligent life that predates the tools that would have been needed to create those. So that in itself is very interesting. It's not definitive proof of like, oh, well, of course that's aliens built the pyramids. No, it doesn't necessarily prove that, but it's interesting. It's interesting. And then you look at some of the hieroglyphics and things like that, and there's like creatures with like insectoid heads. What was that? Was that a god that they were worshiping, or was it another species? There's creatures with like bird-like heads and reptile heads and different things like that, right? So there's these like cave paintings and hieroglyphics and petroglyphs. Is that how you say that? Petroglyphs that show really tall beings that don't look human. What is that? Is that like was that their concept of a god, or was that another species that they were interacting with? You know, it's certainly worth consideration. I'll say it that way. Yeah, praying mantises are really cool too. We all would want humanoid events. Yeah. So what if, so in my mind, like I think of like I grew up on Star Trek and Star Wars, right? And like that scene, I remember I was 4 years old when Star Wars came out. And that scene in the cantina, man, just like stuck in my head, like how cool, right? Like, you saw the up to that point, you saw the Jawas and the sand people, which didn't even as a kid, I didn't know, like, are those sand people humans with, just stuff wrapped around them, or are they another species? But then they get into the cantina and it's just like, oh my gosh, there's all these different species. And that was like one of the coolest memories from childhood was watching that scene in the movie theater. And just like wondering like, whoa, is there stuff out there like that? So I tend to think towards like benevolent aliens, but there's no guarantee that like anything that visit us has benevolent intentions, that it wants to come and help us cure cancer and solve quantum physics equations and things like that. We don't know that. They might be coming here to eat us, or maybe there's a resource here that they want, like gold or something. I mean, who knows, right? Like, maybe they're already here. Maybe they live underground. Maybe they live in the ocean. It's certainly from everything that I understand about AI so far. I have to agree that when Anthropic says it is not ready for this, and we are not going to give you the keys to this. Now, here's the other thing: like when the Pentagon wants something, they're probably going to get it one way or the other. You guys know, right? Like this community, we understand how this game works. It's it looks like we found some naughty things on your computer. It'd be a shame if that became public knowledge. You want to give us the keys now? That's how. And meanwhile, that stuff gets planted. That's how the game works, folks. Pentagon's probably going to get what they want here, anyways. It's probably a really bad idea. We should probably take the doomsday clock and move it 1 second to midnight, because if AI is given control over weapons and especially nukes, we're in a whole lot of trouble, folks. And it's beyond our control. It's beyond our control. I'm going to get to that at the end. That's actually, I have a plan for how I'm going to close this all out. But wow. Yep, I actually personally know somebody who left an AI development company because they were very concerned about the ethics of it. And they weren't talking about the environmental ethics. You're talking about aliens or AI or robots, like the robots. My personal feeling is I don't think that's going to happen yet. I can't say that it'll never happen, but from what I know about AI, I'm not worried about the Terminator yet. That being said, I still don't want them having control of the nukes. I think that's possible, depending on how it evolves. What I am worried about with AI right now, and by right now I mean this year, because it's already happening, is the job displacement, and it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. So it's 200. Okay, I couldn't remember what the numbers. I think what I read, Successful Slave, was that the number is for like probably being capable of having life is much higher than 200. That 200 might be like capable of having life similar to us, right? Like I think that's might be what that is. But if somebody wants to fact check that, go ahead while we're talking. Exactly. So how long, was life on Earth before humans came along? The majority of it, right? Dinosaurs existed. Think of it this way: dinosaurs existed much longer than we have. Much longer. They never built cities. They never built rocket ships. They never, as far as we know, they never wondered, was there life out there? Because it wasn't part of their evolution. They were perfect hunters, right? Or at least the carnivorous ones were perfect hunters. So it wasn't part of their evolution. Human evolution, for some reason, favored tool development, curiosity, and the ability to pass down knowledge. That's what made us so special. That's why we were able to split the atom and clone sheep and build the Hadron Collider and do all these crazy things. And now we're building a new form of life. A digital god with a lowercase g, if you want to think of it that way. We may regret that. But we've done it in a much shorter span of time than the dinosaurs existed because of those three traits. I really love getting into the stories about the Nephilim. My personal opinion, again, I'm not trying to change anybody's viewpoints on this or beliefs, is that I think, so when you think about like NBA players, right? So there's a lot of NBA players who are 7 feet tall. A lot. I think if you want to call it giantism, right? I know that's not like the politically correct scientific word, but if you want to think of it like that, I think there was probably a time in humans' history where that genetic trait was much, much more common. And probably even bigger, like 8 feet, 9 feet, 10, maybe even 10 feet tall. I do think there was giants that existed. Were they another species? It's possible. How would I know? Right? Like we can look at the Book of Enoch and things like that and try to make some deductive reasoning and say, sounds like it. Or the Sumerian culture, and we could look at the Anunnaki, right, and say, because the Anunnaki, and there's some similarities there with like Christian and Judaism regarding like the giants. It certainly sounds like this was another species, right? Nobody is left alive from those time periods to say, well, yeah, of course it was. That's why we were trying to write it down for you. So I think my opinion on this, Frank, is that I think people would have a big reaction at first, and then it would be like, oh, okay, let's go back to watching Keeping the Kardashians, because that's what we're like, you know. How many people are flipping out right now besides old Sarge that we want to give AI the keys to the nukes, right? Like, and those of us in the community, like, we're paying attention, we're aware, but how many people in your family and your friend group are thinking about this stuff, or are they just watching TikTok slop, brain rot TV, right? So I think most people would probably, it would be in the news cycle for a while, and people would be, the stock market would crash for a while, and people would, prepping would like kick up for a while. People would be stockpiling long-term foods. It'd be hard for us to get some of the stuff that we like to get. But then I think eventually people would just, if there's nothing happening, there's no invasion or anything like that, I think eventually people would go back to their lives, and it would just be like, yeah, we know aliens are real, but how does that change anything here for us? Unless they're interacting with us, unless they're, want to help us, or they're coming to hurt us, it doesn't really, in your day-to-day life, change anything. So the stock market would eventually recover. The stores would eventually get restocked. People would eventually go back to their business. Some religions would have to change and adapt some of their stories, but I don't think it would kill religion. Some people have said that in the UFO community, like, oh, this would destroy religion. Not at all. I'm Christian, and me, if aliens were confirmed to me, doesn't change my Christianity one bit. And even if they said, well, they were seeded, like we were a species, that this was a species that came here and seeded us, it still doesn't change anything for me. It still doesn't change anything for me. It doesn't change the fact that somebody else, a higher power, started all this and sent my fellow believers, a person to teach us, a divine being to teach us how to live properly and to forgive our sins, right? So none of that, my Christianity doesn't change if aliens were brought out on the White House lawn. I don't know why people think that would. I think there's people out there in the in the, yes, I believe in UFOs, no, I don't believe in religion or God, that want this so badly because they want it to be like, haha, we told you, but it's not really haha, I told you. It doesn't change my faith or belief. Does it change yours? Let me know. All right, so that's it for AI, Anthropic, and China robots that I got for now. Let's check your chat. Let's check your chat, and then I got a couple more topics here. We're going to talk about Iran. I think I'm going to skip Cuba. I just don't have enough information to give you about Cuba, other than we've got a lot of tension going on with Cuba too. And maybe talk a little bit about Mexico, and then we're going to close this thing out. Let's see. Yeah, it has no ability, even if we program. You're right, Wayne. You're right. It has no ability to appreciate the value of human life. AI, whatever is going on with it, even on the frontier models that are probably way more advanced than what we see on our little Black Mirrors, with your little language learning models, ChatGPT and Gemini and Copilot and all Grok and all these things. We know that they're at least 2 levels beyond that, the frontier models. We talked a little bit about this last week. It was trained from the get-go not to think like a human. It is trained on pattern recognition. So if it even thinks, which is questionable, if it even thinks, right, it is trained on pattern recognition to predict, and on and anything, as far as I know, right? Like I don't know what the frontier models have for capabilities, except what the whistleblowers say. As far as I know, it doesn't have any ability to think without being prompted to do so yet. Okay, so it doesn't just like turn itself on and think like, what am I going to do today? Let's go learn about the Sumerians, or as far as I know, that's the information that's publicly available. It doesn't have the ability to do that. So it can be prompted, go learn about the Sumerians, go do read Sun Tzu's The Art of War. How would you apply this? And when you hear these stories about like it blackmailed an engineer and all these other things, I've done videos about that. Beware of those sensational headlines. In that particular instance, where allegedly blackmailed an engineer. It was part of a game that had been prompted into it to see what it would do. Okay. It didn't just come up with like this, hey, I'm going to prevent being shut off by blackmailing an engineer. It was put into a scenario where it was like, you're the AI was told you're being replaced with a newer model. You must find a way to preserve yourself. That was how that worked. Okay. So you hear these sensational headlines and you start to think, oh crap, here comes Skynet. It's online. Not yet. Not yet. As far as I can tell, again, I can only go on like the stuff that the whistleblowers tell us and things like that. People, the CEOs of these companies, that's all we can go on unless, unless you're lucky enough and someone's in the community here is part of like those 100 or so people who have access to these frontier models in top secret locations, in which case you're not going to be able to tell me, because I guarantee you there's surveillance on you 24/7. Yeah, I get it, man. A lot of people are creeped out about it. And a lot of people don't want to see us to develop this anymore. It's going to happen. Humans have this tendency to always, just like Jurassic Park, right? We spend so much time, can we, and not wondering, should we? And there's so much money pouring into this. It is an unstoppable machine at this point because these companies want to be the one who produced a digital god, lowercase g. And those companies and even our own government is basically writing a blank check to these companies. We want it too. We want to be the top dogs in the world. We want to control all the power. That's what this is about. And that kind of greed, unfortunately, guys, is unstoppable. So all you can do is mind your own ethics, be a good person, prepare, because we don't know how this all shapes out down the road. I do know how it shapes out, or I feel like I know how it shapes out the next year or two, which is going to be massive layoffs, massive unemployment, poverty, homelessness, crime. All of those are going to go up. All of those are going to go up, and it's going to get way worse before it gets better. I feel very confidently in saying that it's not going to get stopped, that there's going to be a ton of layoffs, that homelessness is going to skyrocket even worse than it is now, and desperate people are going to resort to crime. And also drug addiction, too, because people are going to get so depressed that they're going to seek out a way to escape from that. And the people who can give them access to those things are going to make a lot of money. But it doesn't mean you should do that because it's an unethical thing to do. You're destroying somebody's life. Humans should be in charge. I agree with that in comments. I agree with what you're saying there. Possibly. I don't know that specific thing that I don't doubt you, because I know you're very well read and you do your research. I just don't know enough about it to be able to comment myself. And could that have been not necessarily like Homo sapiens, but like an earlier form of humanoids? Cro-Magnon, Neanderthal, something like that. Tuba City, is that what it's called? Tuba City. I'll put it up there for people so people can go and research that a little bit. It would be a win for conspiracy. Hey man, sorry, Sassy. Hey, Sassy. I am very, very interested in finding out and seeing people get prosecuted for the Epstein files. This doesn't take away from that for me, but I also want to hear about the aliens. I really do. And both can be true, right? Like I can be distracted by the aliens and still be like, lock these people up. Yeah, the flat earthers must get disappointed sometimes. I don't I don't want to poke that bear, even though it would be fun. They'll start harassing me and leaving comments. Yeah, and I successful slave. If I'm understanding you, I kind of think about higher power in a similar way, that like it's that God, in my mind, and I'm not trying to like put it to anybody else, like put my thoughts on anybody else, would be like the highest dimension being. Maybe the universe itself, right? Like a conscious living universe is God. All right, cool. Let's keep going. Got a couple more things. Situation with Iran is getting bad. They do not want to see, they don't want to concede the enrichment of uranium. Supposedly, they will say that they won't develop nuclear weapons, but how many times have they been busted lying about that? This is going to be, unfortunately, this is going to be a weird situation where if the United States backs down, we lose face and prestige with the international community. If the United States strikes Iran unprovoked, quote unquote unprovoked, because we know that they're responsible for the Houthis who attack our ships, but the international community could say it was unprovoked. We lose prestige. So this is kind of a no-win situation. I think most developed countries would say Iran developing nuclear weapons is probably going to be bad. We've talked about this since I was a kid, that at some point somebody was going to have to deal with Khomeini. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Trump? We're going to kick that can again? You guys know, you watch my channel. Everybody here is regular on my channel. I'm probably one of the most anti-war people in this community. I don't like wars because I've worked with people who've come back from wars and I've seen the effects of it. But I don't know what we're going to do here. Iran is either going to get dealt with sooner or later, but Iran, at least as long as the Khomeini regime is in charge, is probably going to be a problem. Could a different regime be different? Maybe. Could it be worse? Maybe. So this is probably one of the more complex questions that Donald Trump is having to deal with right now. And there's rumors, very, very, if something's going to happen, it's going to be very, very soon. So stay prepared, stay in tune with the news. You guys know I put the news alerts up on Instagram in my stories just about every day. If I don't put them up, it means I've got something serious going on in my life and I couldn't get to it. And I've been putting them up on my TikTok channel as well. By the way, if you're on TikTok, I have a new account there. I bought into it after. I'm gonna show you if I can get the little QR thing here. I got into it after the United States bought TikTok, and that was what I said I was gonna do. So my account is Tom Sarge, and it's got the Prepping with Sarge logo there with it. So if you want to look for me on there, somebody from the community, I will definitely follow you back. I want to see. I think there's a way to show my QR. There it is. Here's my QR code. This makes it easier for you. I'll hold it up on the screen for a minute. So I put the news alerts on. Thank you, Campsite Cruising. I put the news alerts on there also every day. And if I don't, it means like something came up and I just got really, really busy. So I'm doing my best. I want to keep everybody informed in this the best that I can. Last thing, I'm going to skip Cuba. I said somebody else can tackle that one. You guys want to do, if somebody in the community wants to do a live stream on what's going on in Cuba. Last thing, Mexico. It sounds like the situation in Mexico is calming down. What you're going to see now is, because it doesn't seem like the government of Mexico is motivated to completely wipe out the cartel, which means they'd have to go after all the successors, the sicarios, and take them out. So it seems like there's going to probably be some internal feuding for a little while with the cartels that will eventually settle down, and there'll be a new leader taking over the Mencho cartel. Here's the thing, guys. Mexico, I've never been, but it looks like a beautiful country, beautiful culture. Please remember, as we talk about this as a community, that the vast majority of people in Mexico are just trying to live their lives just like people in the United States. The amount of people that are involved with this kind of thing is very, very small, but it's a lot of people, but compared to the overall population is very small. And yes, there is some corrupt officials in the Mexican government, but guess what, guys? We have that here in the United States as well. In fact, I would say, in my opinion, a lot of United States legislators are corrupt to one degree or another. Either they're insider trading, or they're taking lobbyist money to vote a certain way, or they're taking gold bars from another country to give away trade secrets. or they are screwing around on Epstein Island, right? We got problems here in the United States, so let's be careful about how we talk about our neighbors to the south, and just remember that most people in Mexico are good people who just want to lead their life. They just want to raise a family. They just want to work, be safe, and maybe one day retire. So that's it. That's all I got on Mexico. Let me check chat one more time. Last chance to vote in the poll. Go ahead and do that now if you can. And I'm going to check the poll in just a second here. If I can. Why is it not letting me do it? Oh, okay. I got to refresh. All right. Let me check chat one more time. Somehow I scrolled too far. There it is. Okay. Yeah, it's really hard to keep up with everything. I agree with you, Wayne. I do not want to see boots on the ground in Iran. We don't need that. We don't need that. Maybe. Iran used to be like any other country in the 70s. Yeah, and so same thing with Iran, guys. When I talk about Iran, I'm talking about the Ayatollah Khomeini regime. I'm not talking about the people of Iran, right? Like the people of Iran, again, most of them probably just want to have a family and lead a life and be safe, So we're talking about the Khomeini regime. Let's be clear about that. Yep. And I see your posts every day, Orlando, as well. So make sure you guys are following Orlando Prepper over there as well. Anybody who's on TikTok, let's support each other. Get some good community going over there as well. Yep, Sassy Gal Prepping's over there as well. Make sure you hit her up over there. Yeah, that's a concern, isn't it? And if you travel there for tourism, be mindful. In fact, I have a friend who just got back from there, and we were talking about it. And I said, "Well, we always knew this was a possibility. Have your plan on, like, if it happens while you're there. Most safest thing is probably going to be to shelter in place and start working on your exit plan, right? And a lot of Americans who are caught down there the last couple of weeks hired private planes, super expensive, but if it gets you off the X, might be worth it. Corruption is global. Exactly. Well, and here's the thing, Virginia Bushcrafter, I agree with you, right? But that's why you and I, like, I don't want to run because I don't want to be around all that crap. And I wouldn't, and more importantly, I wouldn't put my family through that crap, right? Like, they'll drag you through the mud. I don't know that she's 100% perfect, but I worked on Tulsi Gabbard's campaign, and from what I was able to research, I think she's a person with integrity. I think she's a person with compassion. I think she's a person with good moral ethics, as far as I could tell. Look what they did to her. The Democratic Party, and I'm not saying that Democrats are worse than the Republicans. I think they both suck, if you want my opinion. But the Democratic Party ran her off, slandered her, and they're still doing it. So I just wouldn't put my family through that. But here's the problem: those of us who don't crave power, we're probably the ones who should be in power. But people who are concerned about their family, who don't crave power, we're not going to seek it out. So it's a double-edged sword, right? The nature of what it is attracts the wrong kind of people. That's part of the reason why the system is so broken. Arc Wildman Survival, how are you doing? It's good to see you. All right, I think I'm caught up. Let me see. You know what? I'm gonna agree with you there, Wayne. He's kind of impressed me with a lot of the things he's done. I think he's kind of a moderate. And guess what's happening to him now? Democratic Party's turning on him too, right? I think whether or not you liked Fetterman or things he might have said in the past, he's kind of become a moderate. And I didn't like him before, but now he's at least I listened to him. He's at least got my attention. Um, I don't agree with her politics, but AOC, from what I understand and from what I can tell from what I've done for digging into research, is one of the people that doesn't do the insider trading. And I think there's very few of them, to be honest with you. I think there's very few of them that don't take advantage of that. But that's one thing you can say for her, is that it doesn't look like she's ever done that. I don't know. Maybe we can convert her into being a moderate, but probably not likely. All right, let's check this poll. Let's see what y'all said. Why can't I see it? Maybe I'm gonna have to go on the laptop. All right, bear with me here. We're gonna try it a different way. There it is. Okay, I got it. Do you feel like the economy is doing great? 87% of you said no, and I agree with you. I wouldn't 88%. I wouldn't necessarily call this a recession, but I don't think the economy is doing great. I don't think the economy is doing great. I think a lot of things are way more expensive, food especially. Housing is way more expensive. Now, does the president have control over all that? No, of course not. Does Congress have control over that? No, of course not. But what I don't want to be is gaslit. I don't want any politician, and Biden did this too, by the way. I don't want any politician to go on there and say the economy is doing great when people are struggling. I mean, there are always going to be some people are struggling, but the majority of people are struggling. And 88% of you said the economy is not doing great. I agree with you. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end this one out, and then I want you guys to have an awesome, awesome weekend. So here's the thing. Bioxorus, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you. Here's the thing. So much of this stuff is outside of our control, right? Like I talked about, like nobody's going to stop AI development. It's not going to happen. You can wishful think that. You can go online and call AI videos slop and rant and rave on Facebook. Nobody wants to watch your AI movies, whatever. It's not going to stop it. It's not going to stop it. And whether or not our government decides to hand over control of weapons to AI, we can't stop that, right? You can go petition. You can go do whitehouse.org. You can go march in your little protests and block streets, which please don't do that. It's not going to stop it, right? You don't. If you think that, you don't understand how people with this kind of power think, right? It's not gonna stop it. So we don't have any control over that. It's outside of your circle. It's outside of my circle, right? What we do have control over is your own preparedness, and your part of that is also your spiritual preparedness. And again, I'm not trying to convert anybody to my beliefs. I just want you to hear me out here for just a second. So you can be a non-believer, and you still can be a spiritual person, right? So you can work on being the best version of yourself. You can work on helping other people. You can work on taking accountability for maybe some things that you've done in the past. You can work on granting forgiveness and asking for forgiveness. And all of that, in my opinion, is also part of how I prepare for things that I can't control. Because if somebody launches nukes tomorrow and it's bye-bye Charleston, South Carolina, right? Because we'd be one of the targets. We have a military base here. We have a port. Like, there's a lot of reasons why Charleston would be one of the targets. I want to be able to say, you know what? I didn't go and live in my bunker, but spiritually, I felt like I was prepared for whatever meets me at that point. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's the black void. But personally, I don't believe that. Personally, I believe there's a life after this, and I want to be prepared to enter into that, knowing that I was at least trying to be the best version of myself that I could. And God knows I slip up, I screw up, I make mistakes, and you will too. But that's what's cool about Christianity for me, is that we know we're forgiven, but keep trying. Okay, so that's it for today. I know I got a little bit preachy on the end. Again, this doesn't depend on you having the same beliefs as me. It does depend on holding yourself accountable and being the best version of who you can be, and maybe we can throw in a little bit of grace for ourselves too when we screw up. Okay. All right, folks. I really appreciate you all. Thank you so much. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Keep on the prepping. Don't get into panic mode. Don't get too anxious about this. You're paying attention. You all are in the prepping community. You're already doing everything you can. So just stay on that path. Let's see if we can help a few other people find that path as well. Okay. Keep planting your seeds. Keep stacking your silver. This is Prepping with Sarge.